Hello there, and welcome to another week of accelerated mixed martial arts training tips and strategies and tactics. I'm Rich Alton, and today's video tutorial is a response into the previous video that I did titled The Line of Force Principle, which goes in under the striking context as far as delivering effective power. There's a couple things that people that did respond back, they gave me some feedback. Most of it was all pretty good. However, the two or three things I'm going to address here today, I don't quite think that they seem to miss the point in the video here, and trying to address it under a different context other than MMA application or maybe street self-defense thing. The first thing that was addressed was talking about, I demonstrated or talked about basic 3 punches that we practice the line of force, right? I talked about delivering your jab strike in here, where we bring the arm up horizontal like this, okay? And then we also talked about your rear cross in here, and we talked about your hook. Those are 3 basic punches that demonstrate the line of force. Now, with that being said, what I did not do is, and this is one of the arguments, is I did not make this video with the intent for boxing purposes in here. And the reason why I did not really illustrate it for boxing, and this is the feedback that I got, is I had some supposedly experienced boxers tell me that for the most part everything they thought they agreed with, but they didn't agree with a couple of things. Like, for example, we're talking about the cross punch. One of the things I talked about, remember, the line of force principle in here is defined as the exact functional trajectory or vector that a strike has to take to maximize effect. Okay? It has to be the exact functional trajectory. It has to come from a physics perspective, not from a boxing style perspective. If you have to take it from a style perspective, let's say I have a style of boxing, that fights like Floyd Mayweather. He's going to throw his jab differently, and then you got somebody else in here fights, very aggressively like Mike Tyson. Well, they have 2 different outlooks in how they even go about combat, let alone life. So, but their techniques are going to be delivered differently because their objective, how using them, is different. Okay, so they're not necessarily going to follow always the best principles to make an effective strike up, and there are some principles that you need to adhere to make an effective strike, and one of them is the line of force. Okay, now it's just the same thing in weightlifting. If you don't follow the proper bench press or power line or line of force in a bench press, there's no way a power lifter is going to bench press 800, 900,000 pounds like that. Even if you only bench press 200 pounds. If I try to bench press 200 pounds and I bench it from a very poor starting point, a poor point of conception here, I'm going to have a very hard time getting that thing in the lockout position because my biggest muscles and my most muscles are not following the kinetic chain. Okay, kinetic chain is used a lot in the fitness terminology and anatomy. Well, that's what it basically means in a line of force. So when you try to do a bench press or push-ups, right? Nobody's doing max effort push-ups and bench presses from right here, right? Or their arms up in here. Okay, they're doing it basically from right here. So there has to be a connection from where the wrist, the elbow, and the shoulder, right, and everything from the hip and the torso all have to kind of come into perfect alignment, right, on impact in here. And also it has to come in a perfect alignment before impact. In other words, like I said before, you have to anticipate that a person is going to be moving, is going to be a lot closer, or going to suddenly moving closer than when you deliver strike than the point that they're originally standing at, right? So what that means is, if we're out here in a fighting scenario here like this, okay, you cannot anticipate that the person is going to stay here, and when you throw a punch out here like this, right? If he stays here like that, all right, then I can literally hold my hands in any position and make contact in here. Right? So if he's just a standing heavy bag in here, I can hold my hands all over the place and hit him in all kinds of dumb positions in here like this, right? And it's probably going to work as far as terms of getting there, right? But first of all, who the heck is going to stand there and let me do that to him? Okay? If he moves in 6 inches or something like that, right? Or all of a sudden changes his head position here, and I don't hit in the perfect apex of the punch in here. In other words, if I don't hit completely lockout, like most people are thinking on a pad, right? What's going to happen is that punch is going to collapse, right? That'd be like me sitting on a bench press in here with my arms folded like this, and you drop a barbell a couple 100 pounds, and I'm going to catch it and reverse it in here like that fast, right? This thing's going to collapse on you in here because your biggest muscles are not absorbing the impact, right? In other words, your skeletal muscular structure is not in that functional trajectory, okay? Your tendons and ligaments and joints are absorbing it, and that's where you're going to get what we call force leakage. Okay, so let's talk about what this line of force principle really is, and why I was telling, one of the comments is that someone made a comment about bringing your elbow out like this as throwing your jab in here, right, or your cross. And the reason why I said that elbow has to come out, because the comment is that the punch is telegraphic, and a good boxer is going to take advantage of that elbow winging out. But here's my argument with that. First of all, right, the mechanics of the shoulders and the elbow, the radial ulna joint in here, the way the elbow rotates in here, in a traditional boxing type punch, what this person was talking about is that you need to keep the elbow more down in here like this. These are very common ways to throw punches when you turn the knuckles over like this. Okay, well, I don't care who you are, this is not the most natural mechanics for the arm in here. If you are trying to keep your elbow down, even if I try to keep this down, the camera can pick up on this, if I try to keep my elbow down and just try to rotate my fist over, there's a natural strain in my joint here, because the shoulder controls the elbow and the wrist. The shoulder is what controls the rotation in here like this. This swivels in here, right? This is a swivel joint, this is a ball and socket. Okay, so what happens is if I try to keep my elbow down, my shoulder wants to pop out to some degree, right? Even just a little bit. See how that elbow wants to come out in here? Now if you look at this in here, my elbow and wrist are not in a straight line. My wrist is kind of on center line like this, okay? And my elbow's kind of coming out here. Okay, so nobody stands in a fighting situation and ever keeps their elbow down like this. There's always something coming out. The elbow's always coming out like this. Every fighter does it to some degree, because that is the natural mechanics of the damn arm. Okay, that's how that works. So, because that's the more natural mechanics, the line of force has to come from that. The line of force is coming here. So when the elbow comes out like this, the line of force is originating from the elbow in here. If I drew a line this way here like this, punching this way. So the arc has to come this way. The arc needs to come out from the center line, and then coming out from the shoulders, and then to center line like this. It's not coming from the center in here. If you try to deliver it from here, you're not going to be able to hit consistently at long range, and you're not going to be able to stop a person coming in close. So my counter to this person about the elbow coming out is, if you're going to try to generate more power, and essentially that is a disadvantage of the elbow coming out, is it is a telegraph. It is no punch that you throw coming like this. Even if you keep the elbow down a little bit, there's always a two-step action. I have to take it from here, and I have to go 1 and then 2. No matter how you slice it, it's going to be 2 steps of action, but the elbow's up a little bit, or the elbow comes out like this. So if you're going to take the telegraph, and you're going to take that into account, and you're going to accept that it's a telegraph, then why not take the proper line of force and learn how to generate a more scientific type of strike than trying to base it on 30, 40 years of boxing that hasn't evolved in so long. Okay, I've yet to see a boxer throw a punch in close range and really stop somebody, because that's not the name of the game of boxing. Boxing doesn't do that. Boxing doesn't have to worry about in here as I go to throw a technique and he moves in 6 inches. Boxing doesn't have to worry about a guy coming in here like that, with his head down like that, moving in. Or what happens, if he comes in and kind of just throws his hands up in the air and tackles me, or tries to grab me at the same time in here like this, right? That punch doesn't even get through in there. Okay, because it's so out of alignment in here like this, boom, like that. So even if I hit him right in the cranium in here like this, I'm basically hitting with the edge of my fist in here. Bam, if the camera can pick this up. Okay, so that means that when I throw a punch in here like this and he moves in, I hit him, bang, I hit him bent in here like this. Okay, I didn't hit him at lockout where I'm used to hitting the focus pads. So if he puts his hand up in here, and I just sit here at long range and go like this, sure, with my elbow down and kind of flicking it from out here like this, right? Stay right there, boom, right? Boom, walk around, move around, boom, right? Sure, I can hit great all day, but what happens when he steps in? Okay, so if you grab that focus pad behind you, what happens if he steps in suddenly? That's the realism of what fights do, right? MMA does it all the time. They're out of control. Street fights do it, right? Even in boxing, they may happen to some degree, right? Not as much because they're more in control of their surroundings because they don't have to deal with charging attacks. And why would they even give a charging attack? Because that is not what they're trying to do in boxing. They're trying to stay away out of someone's range and try to move out of the way and hit you before you can hit them. So what happens if he steps in here? So I'm out here like this, I'm going to throw a cross off the lead side here, or your boxing type jab, throwing it with the elbow more down, right? And I'm sitting here like this, and he stays at range in here, no problem, right? Okay? Everybody goes, wow, that's really strong. It is a strong punch, okay, at that distance. But what happens as I go to deliver it, he moves in, and I hit right here, okay? Let's do that again, okay? So at full speed, and go, right here. Okay, let me try it again, and go. Out here like this. That punch is all out of alignment. My knuckles are all bent in here, okay? Shoulders all up like this because I am not hitting at the apex of the punch until right here. In other words, from the point of conception, okay, the punch is out of alignment. It's here, like this, or trying to keep the elbow down. The elbow's coming out like this, or down here. So the punch is not strong until right there. So you have a very small margin of error to stop somebody. That's not very realistic in a dynamic fighting situation. So it's okay to do on your pad, but try to do this consistently. Have your partners randomly step in every once in a while and try to do that. As I'm throwing a punch in here, he just steps in, darn it, in here like that. Caves right off. And it's going to cave off with boxing gloves on because you have a big pillow that's going to slide off in here. Okay, so that is a big problem that I'm trying to address about this line of force principle. So you have to take a different vector. You cannot throw the punch with your elbow down and expect to stop people in elbow range or whatever, close range or kill zone, whatever you want to call it. So in order to create a more effective strike, okay, let's take this down in here, is to find the proper line of force. And you do this against a resistance, your partner. So when you are in a stable position, the line of force kind of manifests from there. So when we say line of force and body stabilization, is that everything from your knuckle all the way down to the sole of your back foot has to be in a structurally strong position before the point of impact and on the point of impact. Okay, so I can't be out here like this and then be off balance and throw the punch and then kind of think I'm gonna, be effective in here. So the way to do this drill in here is to put your body in what you feel a structurally strong position on the point of impact, and you're going to stabilize yourself to the earth, and your partner's going to stabilize himself to the earth. You're going to put this cross punch up in here. Okay, now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to brace in here, and if I lock this thing out with my bone structure in here and he pushes against me, right, push hard, right, it's push hard, it's super strong, I ain't moving because I got my body in the right spot because I know where it needs to be. Okay, that's that lockout. But what happens when let's say I get halfway locked out and I throw that type of boxing type elbow down jab in here. Let's say that I've got the elbow bent like this in here and I'm halfway in here. I get myself real stabilized in here, he stabilizes himself too, and he pushes into me in here, press. Right, that just collapses. Let's do that again. So I hit right here, clunk, and this is where the point of impact is in a real fight, right? And he pushes into me in here, right? All that just goes right into my shoulder in here and leaks out my elbow because I don't have the skeletal muscular structure in the right spot. This is why you have to bring the elbow out here. The line of force is here, okay? And the reason why it creates more power as a bonus is because as you wing the elbow out in here, not only are you getting more torque, right? If you throw the punch from here, you have rotation in your trunk and to some degree at your hips, okay? People talk about right here, right? This is some rotation like this. But when I wing the elbow out here, now I double the rotation, okay? So I'm rotating from the center of my spine here like this, my body with the elbow down, okay, here. When I bring the elbow out, now I got more torque from here, right? Small torque, okay? Small baseball bat, bunt, big baseball bat in here, home run. So the elbow should come out here like this. And yes, again, it is a telegraph, it is a two-step action, but that's why it's a more tactical punch for sort of these reasons, being hitting with more power. Okay, so the way to correct this in here is to put, instead of being at the end of the punch, which everybody thinks they're always going to be, is to start in the beginning of the punch in here. Okay, so come this way a little more here, right? So if I get myself on the right spot, and again I'm going to stabilize, okay, and all he's going to do is just give me enough resistance, so when I push into him, he's just going to let me follow that back in here, right? Let the elbow collapse in, boom, push into me, okay, resist me. See, I'm very strong right here. Oop, got a little off balance. Let's do it again. Push into me. In here like this. Push again. See this here, I'm strong. Resist me. This is strong right here, like this. Now if I can't my fist in a little bit like this, push against me. I can't even move them in here like that. So the technique is, if you look at it from here, here's your center line. The technique is coming this way, like this. That is the right vector for that strike. So let's come over here. So out here, I would bring that elbow up. So I'm here, I'm going to bring the elbow up and then step forward, boom. Okay, so you see how it's coming out and it's arcing to the center line. I'm coming out and then rotating, boom, it's arcing that way. Okay, that is the line of force for that punch. Now, I don't need the distance to hitting. I don't need to be in the perfect spot, right? What that means is now, we go back to hitting in close range. This is the next thing that somebody brought up, is why would you throw a cross in close range? You should be relying on hooks, uppercuts, and elbows. And my answer to that is, well, it shows me how much they really don't know about mechanics. If you're just relying on hooks, uppercuts, and elbows, that's because you really don't know how to generate force other than those. And so that is your only arsenal. Otherwise, you don't know how to use all the tools in the toolbox. Okay? I'm not saying you don't throw hooks and uppercuts and elbows, but people are like move-oriented thinking. When we get in close, it's hooks, uppercuts, and elbows. When we're out here, it's jabs and crosses. When we're out here, it's only kicks. When we're right here, now we're grappling. When we get to this position, it's only submissions. When we get to this position, it's only tackles, so on and so forth. So that's move-oriented thinking based on styles, which is not a very black belt way of training. Okay, so taking this into account here, I bring this thing up and in close range in here. So if I got in close and found that same stabilization, so he's going to stabilize in here, okay, here like this. This is where I want to be here. Okay, now I'm just going to pull this back into a punching position in here and bring it up and step through. Okay, it's going to come up. My knuckles, wrists, and elbows are all in a straight line. There. Okay, again, let's get in closer, bring it up here, nice and flat, drive. Okay, again, get even closer, up. Now look how far that pad is moving back. Okay, now let me see you do that with a boxing type jab. I'll try to do it with a boxing type jab. I'm in here like this. Can't even really move it at all. It's totally fatiguing. So certainly I can throw a hook in close range, right? In here, I can get right here. Let's actually go this way. Sure, I can throw a hook from right here, right? So I'm right here. Okay, I can step back. Okay, I can step over. Okay, or turn into an uppercut, no problem. Stand right here, right? Drive. Okay, or close range here, I can throw an elbow, right? Okay, sure. But those are all circular type blows, and you should be able to friggin' do that from close range because there's more arc. Circular blows take more rotation and take a different vector than this cross type jab punch in here like this. Okay, so uppercuts and hooks are circular, elbows are semi-circular, okay, depending on how you throw them, unless you try to come way out here like this. Okay, but it's a shorter weapon, so it's going to have more distance to pick up more momentum. That's basic physics. Okay, so this punch, this mechanics right here, okay, if you're throwing an elbow this way, is the same mechanics as this. Same mechanics, right? Hack off my arm here, turn it, right? Make sure, imagine this has disappeared. This is the same torso, elbow coming out, okay, here, as I come out here, like that. Okay, I'll even do it from a couple inches, like 3-6 inches away, right, and like that. Okay, so that is why you need to have or understand and get the line of force down so you can do those things. Okay, simple, direct. I don't know why you'd want to try to do something that is more complex than that. Now the last thing was about, someone made a comment about the knuckle contact, about hitting with 3 knuckles versus 2 knuckles. And it's been around for a long time, and you want to focus on 2 knuckles. I don't agree with that at all. First of all, it doesn't really make any difference in a boxing glove. Okay, in an MMA glove, with a 4-ounce MMA glove and a bare fist, it does make a difference how you hit. Okay, because you're not hitting a flat pad. Okay, the thing with this though is if I hit with 2 knuckles, whether it's flat or whatnot, again, this goes back to you have to have perfect timing to hit here. And if you put these 2 knuckles flat in here like this, okay, depending on your wrist, I've never really seen anybody do this in here, but it's almost impossible to get your fist completely flat in here. So if I hit him in the head like this, to get these 2 knuckles right here, okay, my wrist has some kind of a cant to it. I mean, I can kind of flatten it out, but you gotta be so focused, boom, to do that. And again, how many people can do that in a split second? How many people can do that when someone's charging in? Nobody takes into account where the word resistance is applied to in a fight. Everybody thinks you're gonna be out here and you're gonna time it just right. So it's important to hit with 3 knuckle contact with these 3 metacarpal bones, because those are the bones that run through the hand more, not the first 2. Okay, so if I hit with the first 2 in here, right, boom, like this, or let's say I hit like here, all right, all the stress is going down into the first and second joints of my metacarpal bones and putting a lot of stress on the radius. Okay, even if it's a vertical punch, if I hit with these 2 knuckles in here, if you can see this, all this can be right here. If he puts a little resistance in here, right, it's just collapsing right here. So vertical punch should be hitting like this, or horizontal punch, basically you want to hit flat. Okay, especially with no gloves on. Again, it goes back down to margin for error. So we got a flat pad right here, bare fist. If I hit with 2 knuckles in here, I'm not even hitting with 2 knuckles, even if I try to focus it. Right? I'm still hitting flat. I mean, for me to even try to do that, I'm pretty much hitting flat. You can see my knuckles are all red right here. So to try to get 2 knuckles out here, to me, just is very complex. And again, do you even have the time frame to do that in a real fight? I would focus more on natural movements. Think about doing a knuckle push-up in here. When you do knuckle push-ups, your fist is flat, going like this, you're just putting extra strain on the wrist in here. These 2 bones, radial ulnar bone, should line up, and the bones in the hand should come right directly through that. Okay? Therefore, you also don't, you don't slide off in here like this. Because again, if he puts the pad down and he kind of ducks his head and coming in here like clunk, and I hit like this, look at that, I'm hitting on the edge in here like that. Okay? So you got to take into account that a person's going to move right in here, boom, and I got to catch them as flush as I can. So you're better off hitting with the bigger, more of the weapon, just 2 knuckles. Okay, so those are the things I wanted to address in this. Yeah, the elbow coming out, the 2 knuckles versus 3 knuckles, and the ability. Why would you throw a linear across? In close range, you should be using hooks and uppercuts and elbows. So I think I addressed those in here. And if you think that you disagree with me, that's fine. Leave a comment and send me a video and show me how to do it. Then show me how to hit. Show me how to hit in close range. Get right here like this, right? Try it with your hands down. Hit in close range from here. How you gonna bring your hand up in a 2-step action and hit? With a boxing type punch. How you gonna do it from a self-defense situation and go, okay, here, get off me, and go like that, right? I hope I answered everybody's questions about the responses I got about this topic, and stay tuned for next week on our next video. See you next time. Leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Take care.